CBS 19 Weather Special is sponsored by Stonewater Roofing and Gas and Supply.
Hi everyone, and welcome to our CBS 19 Extreme East Texas Weather Special. This one's called Summer Strikes. Tonight we're going to be talking about a lot of weather information. I'm CBS 19 Chief Meteorologist Brett Anthony.
And I'm meteorologist Sarah Blue. I'll be explaining how we forecast the weather, because it's not magic, it's science.
And I'm Savannah Hale. I'm going to be taking us to some of the hottest places I could find here in East Texas. And then I'll also be explaining why it's important to protect your eyes during the summer.
The stormy pattern that has carried us into the start of June, well, that's directly related to the transition of El Nino to La Nina, and that will also have an impact on the hurricane season. We'll take a look at that in the summer forecast. But first, before lightning strikes and summer strikes, let's get started. We start tonight with an update on the radar gap in East Texas. We're in Lamar County, specifically the city of Reno, where this new radar was installed last fall and is now filling that gap. Efforts are also underway in Congress and in Smith County to fill that radar gap between radars in Fort Worth and in Shreveport. This is what a house looks like after a hailstorm punches holes in the aluminum siding. Ann Pate lives across the street.
We didn't have time to really take shelter after the storm initially hit because it started so quickly.
Pate lives outside Paris, Texas. Here, the National Weather Service radar sweeps from Fort Worth and Shreveport often can't see severe thunderstorms clearly. Curvature of the earth and terrain mean both radars can miss the intensity of the storm. Pate wants that fixed.
Radar would be really nice to have in this area so that we could be warned of storms that are becoming dangerous and violent.
A radar in East Texas, now a step closer. East Texas Congressman Nathaniel Moran's Rural Weather Systems Monitoring Act passed the House in May. It was part of the National Weather Act reauthorization of 2023. We talked to him via Zoom after his bill passed.
This is the first step, and in fact, this helps us to identify and bring to light those areas across the country, not just East Texas, but rural areas specifically where there is a gap in radar monitoring systems.
This map shows the current coverage of next-generation weather radars across the country. Most are closer to larger cities. A closer look reveals gaps in radar coverage in many rural areas. Moran's bill requires an 18-month scientific study. The study will investigate the need and cost to fill radar gaps in rural America, including East Texas.
Once that's done, we can take those study results and then we can come back and say, okay, look, we've seen the results. We know what the problem specifically is. We've got objective scientific data to back us up. Now, here are the solutions that are possible, and here's the cost associated with that, and then we'll determine what to do from there.
The issue is obviously the price associated with getting a radar.
Radar systems can cost $1 million or more. So how did Reno, Texas in Lamar County get its own radar? It sits atop the water tower. How did they pay for it? Chad Graves is the fire chief in Reno.
So this is funded through a completely private organization that reached out to us.
Climavision, a privately run weather company, is building a network of radars across the country in an effort to fill the gap like the one in Lamar County.
Anything below 10,000 feet was being missed.
The Reno radar is the latest one built in Texas.
We own the water tower. It was a suitable site for them, and so we're not out any money.
Private radars aren't as powerful as National Weather Service radars, but here are some examples of how the Reno radar site fills in missing data when severe weather is bearing down on Lamar County.
So it allows us to make better informed decisions about what's going on with a cell. Where it may look like it's weakening to them, we may see that it's not weakening.
The downside, National Weather Service meteorologists aren't authorized to issue warnings based on data from privately owned radar sites. Not yet. Jessica Schultz from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration told us NOAA will evaluate X-band radar data from Climavision to determine the feasibility of this type of data for forecasting operations. Until a decision is made, Graves will continue consulting with National Weather Service meteorologists, but also relying on what the private Reno radar shows.
Absolutely, 100%.
Smith County and the city of Tyler also sit in the radar gap. The radar from Shreveport can't see clearly below 6,000 feet. Climavision recently reached out to Smith County, offering to install a radar at no cost.
This radar would greatly increase our capabilities to serve the public.
Privately owned radars may be the solution while the federal government works to replace existing and aging NEXRAD Dopplers. In the 90s, the National Weather Service installed more than 120 NEXRAD Dopplers across the nation.
Recently, the National Weather Service underwent a Service Life Extension Project, or SLEP, at all radar sites across the country in which certain components were replaced to extend the life of the radar for at least another 10 or so more years.
A new radar solution could be a decade away. It's called phased array radar. Instead of shooting horizontal and vertical beams like current Doppler radar, phased array radar can direct several small antennas at a specific storm and get new data in 30 seconds.
It's very expensive, number one, and it's going to require also a lot of training for the meteorologists in the National Weather Service and even our partnering agencies as well.
Until that happens, Ann Pate knows she needs to be wary when it comes to severe weather.
This is Broadway. There's no radar here.
Not yet, but possible solutions are in sight, even if it's a decade away. In East Texas, I'm CBS 19 Chief Meteorologist Brett Anthony.
Summer is almost here, which means the sun will be high in the sky and a lot more intense. When it comes to the summer sun, we talk a lot about protecting our skin, but what about our eyes? Well, Dr. Eric Jones and I are here to tell you that protecting your eyes is just as important.
Ultraviolet radiation can be damaging to the structures of the eye.
Ultraviolet radiation, also known as UV, comes from the sun, and two forms of it make it to the Earth's surface, UVA and UVB. 95% of the UV that makes it through the atmosphere is UVA, but both can damage your eyes.
Internally, it can increase your risk for cataracts. On the surface, you can get really what's akin to a sunburn on the surface of the eye. It's called photokeratitis. And even the skin around the eyes is really delicate, so it can increase aging, and it's even a common place for skin cancers.
The UV index is a scale from 0 to 11 plus, 0 being low risk and 11 plus being extreme. Unlike our skin, we can't use sunscreen, so the best way to protect our eyes from harmful UV rays is by wearing sunglasses.
Low is a 1 or 2, and it's really unlikely to have any problems with UV at a 1 or 2. So you're most likely fine there, but you go up from there. Even though that's low, but then you go to moderate or higher, the very high and extreme risk, even moderate, you're going to be outside for any length of time and should have them on for that.
And a cloudy day doesn't necessarily mean a low UV index. It's a good idea to still keep those sunglasses nearby.
Both on a cloudy day and a non-cloudy day, because again, those UV rays, about 80% of those UVAs will penetrate through the clouds.
And if you don't want to break the bank for a nice pair of sunglasses, well, there's plenty of affordable pairs that'll do a great job. You just need to know what you're looking for, or you can always opt for a hat.
Look for a tag or a sticker on there that either says 99 to 100% UV protection or the UV 400. Those would offer you the protection from the ultraviolet light. Whether it's a high-end designer frame or just a budget one from the dollar store, as long as it has that on there, that's probably the most important. If we have a brimmed hat that sticks out at least 3 inches all the way around, it can reduce the UV exposure to our eyes by 50%, just having a brim.
Well, now you know, and make sure to remember this: protect your eyes as the UV starts to rise.